Now work on pleating a bishop. And this bishop, as you can see, the sleeves are already sewn in. We like to take a very narrow seam and finish it. Do not serge it, just a simple zigzag seam to finish the sleeve. And as a little tip, when you're working, before you put it on your pleater, working from the back, wrong side up, looking at the back, this is the back placket of your bishop. Working in this direction, you want to press that seam, press that down and back in that direction, and work your way all the way around. That way, when you get to these seams, when you're pleating your bishop, everything's gonna lay much flatter, and you won't get those dreaded bumps when you are pleating a bishop. Okay, so we are pleating our bishop. You're gonna line up the top of your bishop half a space away from your final threaded needle, and these are threaded based on what size. We're about to pleat a 12-month bishop, and so we want 6 rows of smocking, which means we're going to pleat 8 rows. So we're going to line it up a half space beyond that needle, which basically gives you a 1/4 inch seam. Put it through the pleater. Now, you want to make sure the weight of your dress is up on the table, because anytime gravity is pulling it down, then you're going to be off balance in what direction you're having to pull. You turn your crank. And again, your goal is to keep it as straight as possible on the left side, on that line that you established as your top row, and flat across the entire area that you're pleating. And honestly, this is really tough to do by yourself. Many of you might have a motorized motor that you can put to help with the crank, but I mean, find a friend or tell your husband to come hold the side, and that way you can have one hand on the right and one hand on the left, and your friend can turn the wheel. We've even heard stories where they have their children turn the wheel. So that will ensure better success. Approaching our first sleeve, the first seam on the sleeve. And as you can see, it's really straight across. That's your goal. You want that seam to go through your pleater as straight as possible. And this was a tip when we showed you when we ironed, that we've already, with the iron, press that seam in the direction we want it to go to really help make this as smooth as possible when you go through that seam. And we need to pull off our rows that we've already pleated so that we can, not rows, our pleats, so that we have enough room when we turn the crank for those pleats to line up. And we'll keep turning. Again, keeping that top lined up where we established as our top line, straightening, pulling down on the left to keep that as straight as possible. And as you see, we're going across this sleeve on this side of the bishop. We'll get to the other seam in just a minute, and you'll see how straight it is, and that'll be your goal. Hear that? It was kind of gripping, and we're running out of space. You want to pull down, pull them off the needle, pull those pleats. They'll stay together. Continue to pleat across this sleeve until you come upon this next. You see, you're pulling with the right to make sure that we keep that as straight as possible, so that when that seam goes through the pleater, that again, it will be flat and straight.